Saturday Night Justice on Fox. I'm John Walsh, and tonight we're going to crank up the fight against crime. Now, Cop Ride on Fox. I'm John Walsh. It's Saturday, July 18th. Tonight, a 10th anniversary special of America's Most Wanted. We'll show you the greatest moments from the show. We'll go after the 10 most elusive fugitives in our history. And a message from President Clinton. We'll see you right here in just 30 minutes. I'm John Walsh. Next on America's Most Wanted, we're celebrating 10 years of making a difference. Join us tonight for a decade of manhunts and memories. See our favorite captures, help close our toughest cases ever. All that and President Clinton. Our 10th anniversary starts in 10 minutes, right after Cops.
Now, America's Most Wanted is fighting back on Fox.
Tonight, on a special edition of America's Most Wanted. In 10 years, you've caught a lot of bad guys.
Homicide of a 14-year-old girl.
You killed her and you know it. So don't play games with us, mister.
In 10 years, we've met a lot of good guys.
We never solve a crime. We still give the parents hope.
Tonight, celebrate a decade of crime fighting on the air. From behind the scenes,
6 policemen, 4 cars. They were all begging to see which one could go first.
To a special message from the president.
John, Hillary and I are so grateful to you for all you have done.
Tonight, America's Most Wanted turns 10. Now, from our Washington Crime Center, John Walsh.
Good evening. 10 years. Can you believe it? When we came up with this idea in 1988, we weren't even sure that it was going to work. To use television as a nationwide crime-fighting tool. To deputize everyone in America as members of an interactive electronic posse. Well, now 10 years later, you've captured more than 500 fugitives and brought home 23 missing children. Along the way, we've met some amazing people. People like Cindy Murphy of Wilburton, Oklahoma. Her bravery saved the lives of her family, and our viewers brought her family justice.
There was a humongous just boom, and the whole house shook. And I thought, good grief, you know, sounded like a Mack truck hit the front of the house.
Last August, Dan and Cindy Murphy from Wilburton went through a night of hell.
Someone's in the house.
Honey, you better get your gun.
Agents say it was a rude awakening at the hands of 2 drugged-up bullies, Trevor Mitchell and James Strickland.
I'm kind of going, Cindy, this is not a dream. You're awake. You're awake. You're really awake. It took me an instant. What's flashing through my mind is, this is my family. I have to kill these people. I have to protect my family. And I thought, oh, God, what is he going to do to us? All of a sudden, I pulled the trigger, and it just went click. And you talk about the worst sinking feeling you've ever felt in your life. I shoved her up under the bed as best I could and hit her as best I could. I remember thinking, Dan's right outside the door. I've got to go help him. I've got to go help him. There was another shot. And I heard Dan hit the wall, and I heard him just moaning, and it was just this death moan. I knew it was really bad.
Fortunately for Dan, police say there was birdshot inside the 20-gauge shotgun. This weaker ammunition is what saved Dan's life.
And I remember I took the screen out of the front window, and I stuck my head out the window just enough I could see, and I mean, just, you know, the whole time fully expecting to be just blown away.
Cindy made a break for help.
I remember thinking the only place I could go was the ditch. My heartbeat sounded like I had a microphone attached to it. Then I realized the ditch was so low, I had to just get down on my elbows and just pull my body.
She made it to a neighbor's house and called 911 just in time. Dan's blood pressure was at 0, and he was barely registering a pulse. He was airlifted to a Tulsa hospital where he underwent emergency surgery.
If Cindy had not had the presence of mind and the courage to act as she did with her handgun, I shudder to think of what would have happened to us.
One of Cindy's gunshots hit Mitchell in the mouth, knocking out a handful of teeth and piercing his tongue. Strickland was quickly arrested and has since been found guilty and sentenced to 15 years. Part of Strickland's plea agreement with officials was to drop a dime on Mitchell. But first, agents needed to find him. When we aired the case, agents had an idea that Mitchell was south of the border, but our viewer tips told an entirely different story.
The show airs and we get a call from Canada. The caller says, I know where Trevor Mitchell is. We said, how do you know that? He says, well, I've seen him. He's here in Canada.
So with the help of Canadian officials, agents began searching north of the border to find Mitchell. They discovered that he was working odd construction jobs around Winnipeg, Manitoba. But by the time the show had aired, officials learned Mitchell had moved on with a band of freelance roofers traveling the nation looking for work. At the beginning of June, another Canadian viewer placed Mitchell 1,400 miles east in French-speaking Montreal. Mitchell was staying at this motel outside Montreal in Brossard when he made the mistake of calling a friend back in Winnipeg. That friend saw our show, dialed star 69, then gave the cops Mitchell's number. The constables traced the number and set up surveillance on the motel. Now they needed a ruse to get Mitchell away from his construction buddies. So the tiny police department in Broussard constructed the perfect plan, using the perfect man. Danny Lopez, a part-time construction worker and part-time constable with the Broussard Police Department.
I know that name, Trevor. I don't know the full name, but this guy's been introduced to me as Trevor.
Constable Lopez knew exactly how to end Mitchell's fugitive days. With other cops surveilling the scene, Danny drove to the motel where Mitchell was staying, told him he had a roofing job for him. Mitchell didn't know that once he got into Danny's car and out on the road, he would be caught in a trap.
So basically, my mind is racing, and I have to keep talking to Trevor, and I have to make sure that everybody's safe. I get right under the bridge. I see that police car comes right in front of me, just like Planet. I see the guy in the mirror in the back. They're getting out. At the same time, I just run out of the door, looking over my shoulder, and I see my partners just like going right at him.
Don't move. Now, fat. Step out of the car. Don't move. Stay very still on the ground. Don't move. Put your head down.
He's stunned. His eyes literally popped out. It's like he never thought that could have happened at that moment.
Mitchell was taken down without incident. Within days of being thrown in jail, Mitchell's father, Luther Mitchell, drove from Oklahoma to Montreal to defend his son.
And Trevor, he says that he is completely innocent of what they've got charged. And he says he can prove that.
Well, I mean, the obvious question people are going to ask, if he didn't do it, why did he go on the run?
He said that he was running from an individual or individuals, but he wasn't running from the law.
Back in Wilburton, Dan and Cindy Murphy don't care who Mitchell was running from or why he was hiding in Canada. They're just relieved he's in custody.
You know, of course, this is the moment we dreamed of. I want justice to be done. No more, no less. I'm not looking for vengeance. You know, he did what he did. It's over. But I expect for him to pay for what he did.
Good chance that we'll be able to get back to a resemblance of a normal life now and enjoy the simple things like playing in the playground in the warm Oklahoma sunshine. It's an awfully good feeling.
What a great story. Terrific tipsters, superior police work, and Cindy, you're a heck of a shot. When we come back, we'll have more of our favorite people from the past 10 years. But first, throughout the night, we're going to try to close 10 of our toughest cases, one from each year we've been on the air, starting with a guy we've been tracking from the very beginning.
Stephen Sidney DiLorenzo escaped from a Massachusetts prison in May of 1987. He had been serving a 20-year sentence for multiple violent assaults against women. One woman he shot 4 times, twice in the head. This is the latest picture officials have of DiLorenzo. He has worked as a welder and handyman. He likes to ride motorcycles and has a tattoo of a panther on his right arm. If you have information about Stephen DiLorenzo, call our hotline at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
Police say Joe Sinnott Edwards has been on the run for murder for over 15 years. Abandoned as a baby, Joe Edwards went through 4 foster homes before landing in the loving arms of Marcia and Robert Edwards. A diagnosed schizophrenic, Joe grew violent and self-destructive, and when he turned 18 years old, he turned deadly.
What now?
In January 1983, police say Edwards shot and killed his loving parents. Today, renowned forensic artist Frank Bender has taken on the task of aging a suspected killer. This is what Bender thinks Edwards looks like today, at the age of 34. Police believe Edwards is living under an alias, but can't hide his violent temper. Police think Edwards may be locked up because of mental or criminal reasons. If you know the whereabouts of Joe Sinnott Edwards, call our hotline tonight.
In our 10 years on the air, I can't tell you how many times I've been inspired, amazed, and even amused by some truly memorable people who've been on our show. Tonight, I want to introduce you to a few of them, starting with Jeannie Casey and Debbie Ellison, 2 ladies holding down the fort at a Tulsa liquor store.
I was stocking an expensive wine bottle at the time. I had my bottle in my hand, I held it up, and I thought, should I or not? And I thought, I better.
Jeannie sure did. Then Debbie, from behind the counter, got into the game. Batter up.
She hit him, and it broke all over him, and then I went and picked my bottle up and pushed him, did a body slam on him, and we came out of camera range at the time, and I'm still struggling with him because I thought maybe I can knock him down. Maybe I can, you know, put the Okie choke or something on him, because that's what my favorite thing was when I was a kid.
The Okie choke must have really finished him off because the robber ran out of the store. Way to fight back, ladies.
Don't anybody leave, don't anybody go anywhere. It's a real gun and it's a real bomb.
In 1994, Clifford Draper wired himself to a bomb, then took several people hostage in a Salt Lake City library.
Is anybody here?
We recognize Lieutenant Lloyd Prescott for his bravery. As Draper held his hostages, Lloyd snuck in and, posing as a library patron, diffused a potentially tragic situation.
I want you to take off your jacket.
I'm kind of cold. Could I leave it on?
No, under no circumstances. Now take it off.
Sorry.
It's kind of worst case scenario. You have to make the assumption that the bomb is real and that you need to be very cautious. He was surrounded by a number of hostages sitting on both sides of him, and he wouldn't have had a clear shot even if there hadn't been a bomb. So at that particular point, I decided that my best course of action was to become an insurance policy. I knew that if the bomb exploded, that the force would go above and follow the plane of the table, so that if I could give the hostages time to get below the table, they would be safe. The tough part about that is I knew I had to stay above the table, and that Clifford Draper and myself would take the force of the explosion.
Now clean the knife.
Come on, it's gotta be. Yeah.
Sheriff's office, hit the floor!
We never solve a crime. We still give the parents hope. We are somebody out there working just for them.
When I met Charlie Parker, I knew I had met someone who cared deeply about victims. A businessman, Charlie's passion is solving unsolvable murders, and he does it for free, giving the families of crime victims the knowledge and hope someone is out there fighting for them.
He won't take any money. I've offered to pay him several times, and he just says, no, that's okay. I don't want your money.
Okay. When you work a man's, child's, or woman's murder, you're the most important person in the world to them. And being the most important person in the world to somebody is about as good as it gets. And I get that every day.
Arlene Beckles was spending a quiet afternoon under the hairdryer getting ready for her date that evening. Little did she know that her life was about to change.
I looked up, and right over there, I could see a man pulling a gun.
Don't move! Don't move! Now! Open it! Hey, you! What you doing? Whatever you got.
Thinking to myself, the hell am I going to do?
Somebody open it! Wait! Don't move!
Arlene Beckles was a New York City cop.
I knew that once that one shot was fired, that it would get the attention of the other two, and it sure did. Thank God for the wonderful training that we go through in the police academy. They tell you, don't look at their faces, look at their hands. Their faces, no matter how ugly, won't hurt you. As soon as that first shot was fired, I figured I'm probably going to die anyway. So I figured I had nothing to lose, and if I could save some people in the process, that would be good. I kept pointing the empty gun at them, and I'm yelling to them, police, don't move, with an empty gun, and with the straightest poker face you would ever see, because I couldn't let them know that I was out of bullets.
Please join me in saluting her.
For her bravery, Arlene Beckles was honored as 1995's Police Officer of the Year.
Still kind of a sensitive issue for me, and I guess every time I hear that story, it kind of brings back the whole incident again. Sometimes people don't look at police officers as people. We really care about the jobs that we do, and we will gladly give our lives for what we believe in.
In November of 1996, you met Joe Arpaio, America's toughest sheriff.
I want to make it so tough that people don't want to commit a crime in this county. They can go somewhere else and commit a crime. Don't do it in this county.
Yeah, I have the third largest jail system in the country. I want to be #1. Everybody wants to take them out. I want to put them in.
Sheriff Arpaio has his own private posse of volunteers patrolling the waters, streets, and skies of Maricopa County, Arizona. With his tough views on incarceration, he's left a lasting impression with many of our viewers.
They can get by without their movies and their nude magazines and their coffee. I took away their cigarettes. I give them bologna sandwiches. What's wrong with eating bologna sandwiches? I don't know. I'm down to 30 cents a meal per inmate, the cheapest in the United States. Rather proud of that.
He looks like he's really starving to
You should
death,
have
right?
seen me when I came in here. You should have seen me when I came in here. Yeah.
How much pounds you weigh?
I didn't lost damn near 100-some pounds.
Well, that's
since I came
great.
in
We're
here.
doing you a favor.
Well, this ain't Jenny Craig. This ain't Jenny Craig. I didn't want to lose no weight.
I work hard at this job. I do it more to serve the people, not for self-gratification. I know that I'm history once I'm gone. So while I'm in office and have the authority, I'm going to do the best I can to help the people of this county.
You know, there's no baloney business with me. I tell it as it is. You don't like it? Fine.
No tribute would be complete if I didn't mention Sonia Payne, a feisty antique dealer from Boston.
I'm in business 25 years. No one ever gave me a glass of water for nothing.
When Sonia was robbed at gunpoint by a career criminal, she proved to all of us she's not getting older. She's only getting better. Better with her swing, that is.
Right there was the bat, and I picked up that bat and I went quietly, see, this is quiet, around the corner, honey. And while he was on his knees right here, I beat the out of it. I'm sorry. I beat the crap out of him. I did what I had to do to take care of my life. I did the best I could. And if he would have killed me, he would have killed me. You only live once, honey. You have to do the right thing. I feel that I did the right thing.
There's some very brave and wonderful people. And how about that Okie choke? Well, when we come back, a rare look at some incredible but true stories from behind the scenes at AMW. Stay with us.
Dennis Melvin Howe is wanted by Toronto police for the vicious rape and strangulation of a 9-year-old girl in 1983. This is an age-enhanced sketch showing Howe as he might look today. He's 57, but 15 years on the run have probably aged him. Howe walks with a distinctive limp and chain smokes unfiltered cigarettes. If you have any information, call 1-800-CRIME-TV.
Join the manhunt with Manhunter, the official magazine of America's Most Wanted. A 1-year subscription's just $19.95. And wear what the AMW team's wearing. Order your own America's Most Wanted t-shirts, hats, jackets, and coffee mugs. For the magazine or the AMW products, call 1-800-AMW-9044.
Alvaro Alvarado is wanted in Portland, Oregon for a horrifying triple murder. Detectives say Alvarado gunned down his estranged wife, his sister-in-law, and his cousin as his own children looked on. Detectives say Alvarado has worked as a truck driver, loves flashy clothes, and may be traveling regularly between Mexico and Los Angeles. If you've seen Alvaro Alvarado, please call 1-800-CRIME-TV.
We need to get that guy off the streets tonight. Now, we reenacted some great stories throughout the years, but there's one part our viewers don't get to see, the stories behind the stories. Tonight, you'll see some of those stories told by the producers who went along for the ride.
It's an all-out effort from the law enforcement, and then usually the community gets involved also, which is great.
Somebody stop that guy!
6 policemen, 4 cars. They were all begging to see which one could go first, and could they fishtail, could they do the chase, who would get to do the arrest, and all of them competing. All of them had skipped church just to be there.
There was a stunt driver doing this chase, and he actually it was a brand new Ford Explorer. He got around the corner, he actually got up on 2 wheels. And so I was going right at him as the car was going up, and then it came down and took off. The camera wasn't running, so. So we couldn't use that piece.
Sometimes you have moments that are either so bizarre or so comical that you're afraid to kind of film them the way that they really occurred. But we do anyways, because what happens on the show is real. So folks, what you're seeing is really what happened.
Hey, cutie! Come on, let's party!
Get real.
Hey, battle stations. Yeah! Ah! Oh, no! Oh. May I have another bag, please? Paper or plastic?
The Diane Conrad story was a bizarre story about a 400-pound woman who posed as the dream nanny. In this case, the circumstances were so bizarre that it really was one of those truth is stranger than fiction experiences. And we actually shot it in the real family's home. The family was around, so they were able to really fill in the details, and I think that really enhanced the creative process for the actors. The actress who was playing Diane looked so authentic that she actually terrified the kids. I remember there was a scene where she was sitting in her lazy boy recliner watching her favorite show, America's Most Wanted, and the family was standing around watching, and it really sent shivers up their spine. The danger is that people could accuse you of being over the top, but this was a larger-than-life character.
I can't believe they lived through that. Now they're going to jail.
The story I'd say that stands out in my mind the most is the Pritchard Alvis story. It was about the 2 girls who went hiking in the mountains in Missouri and they were both brutally attacked by an unknown assailant. One of them managed to climb the mountain and get help and save both of their lives. And the remarkable thing is these two girls wanted to be on the set when we recreated their story. And usually the victims or survivors aren't there with you when you're doing the recreation. This time the two girls wanted to be there.
Action!
Help! Tom.
Did you guys move back?
Oh, yeah. She's running, no, screaming.
The whole time? Did you know traffic was there at that point?
Well, the reason I was screaming is because I passed over the trail. The trail, like, it runs through there.
I thought it was a really brave thing. It was a really tough thing for them also. And it was kind of a scary thing for us because we wanted to, you know, handle it right. And we wanted to portray their story accurately. And we didn't want to bring all this stuff up again for them.
My friend is down there. They got him.
You down there? Okay, guys, how far down? Okay.
Just remember, this is just a recreation, and it's not there. I'm not down there. And you're not up here. You're not doing this.
It was a little nerve-wracking for me, but at the same time, it was a great experience because I was right there one-on-one with these people who were able to, you know, guide me through this.
We were doing a segment about someone who had been shot and ended up dying in the street. And so as we were recreating the death scene where he gets out of the car and goes out and collapses in the street as the villain races away, we had previously interviewed the girlfriend. She was there. Crowds had begun to gather on either side as they do at these shoots. And the cop who was on the scene sort of said, let's move this along. And I said, what's the problem? He said, well, of course, you know who that is on this side of the street. And he pointed across on the other side was the shooter's girlfriend. And so the victim's girlfriend and the shooter's girlfriend are staring at each other across the street, and there's this kind of electricity going on as we're shooting the actual death scene as it happens. And it was kind of an interesting moment where reality was kind of intruding on our recreation of a prior reality.
We have a lot of fun doing these stories, but ultimately, as our original producer said, we're painting with the blood of victims of violent crime, and there is a responsibility in that.
We had done a segment about a young man who'd been run off the road and murdered.
Oh my, who are these guys, man?
And did the reenactment, which was very exciting. And about 3 weeks after the show aired, the lady called me up, the mother of the son, and thanked me for the job that I'd done. And that, to me, was very poignant and actually had quite a profound effect on me.
Now, after the break, we'll take a look at our favorite capture of the last 10 years, so don't go away.
Sophie David is wanted for the murder of her boyfriend, Fakata Ashin. Police say on July 10th, 1991, David pulled up in her car and shot Fakata as he was walking to work in West Los Angeles. Investigators say Sophie David is in her native country of Ethiopia, but could return to the United States at any time. David has a British accent, always wears dark sunglasses, and constantly changes the length of her hair. If you've seen Sophie David, please call us at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
First came America's Most Wanted. Then America Fights Back. Now, welcome to the Power Zone. The America's Most Wanted Power Zone is the newest way for you to fight back. Keep yourself safe on the streets. Keep your kids safe in your home. Learn the best way to keep thieves from stealing your car and help make a difference. A part of each sale goes to our charity partners to support their efforts to protect our kids. So get into the zone. For your free copy of the America's Most Wanted Power Zone catalog, call toll-free 877-AMW-GEAR or log on to AMW.com. Remember, each of us has the power.
The FBI says 4 years ago, armored car driver Heather Tallchief fled Las Vegas with a truckload of money, over 3 million big ones. Agents say Tallchief pulled off the heist with her boyfriend, Roberto Solis. FBI agents believe Solis and the 26-year-old Native American beauty are now married and raising children somewhere in South America or the Caribbean. If you've seen Heather Talgi, call our hotline at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
You know, people always ask me if I have a favorite capture. Well, I'm proud of all of them. But if I had to pick just one, it's the one you're about to see. It shows that justice can be delayed, but never denied. February 24th, 1981. The case began with a gruesome discovery, which we reenacted on our show. The body of a young girl had been dumped by the side of the road. She'd been raped, strangled, and pistol whipped. No identification, not a single clue.
The people of Pendleton, realizing that we had a young girl who had no name, had no family, provided a gravestone for her in the local cemetery as Jane Doe.
It would take 5 long years of painstaking computer work to identify the young girl as Naomi McMahill. But finding her name brought Detective Phil Arnold no closer to finding her killer.
It's kind of the ultimate frustration. You go up and down on the roller coaster ride, and then it died.
200 miles away, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. 10 years after Naomi's body was found, Detective Jim McNelly of the County Homicide Unit received a mysterious phone call.
Do you have a nickname or something that I can call you? Yeah, my first name is Pat. Pat?
She told me about how she was and her husband were truck drivers, and while driving through Oregon, they picked up a little hitchhiker, and en route to a destination in eastern Oregon that the husband climbed in the sleeper with the little girl and killed her. He then stuck his head out from the sleeper portion of the cab and said, "She's dead." He'd said, "I don't know why, I just have to do this every so often. It helps relieve the tension."
McNelly knew that he had a murder on his hands, but with the caller becoming more fearful by the minute, he pushed to get additional information from her. Here for the first time is a portion of that recording.
And you are an eyewitness, whether you want to say that or not, you are. If you can pinpoint where the body was dumped, that proves that you were there. That proves that you're telling the truth.
He definitely has the ability for retribution, and he knows forces, he knows how to work it. He's real smart.
You got a choice. You know, you can live with this the rest of your life, or you can deal with it.
Can I trust you guys?
The caller hung up before giving her full name or the killer's name. Detective McNelly had seemingly run into a dead end.
My immediate reaction to this conversation with this lady was that the information was good. There was a description of where the body was placed. So based on this information, I went ahead and put out a teletype.
Hoping for a lead, any lead, McNelly sent the teletype to thousands of law enforcement officers in 11 western states. Over in Pendleton, Detective Arnold happened to see that teletype, and the information it contained reignited a 10-year-old murder mystery.
We advised him that we have a similar case up here, and we'd like to have some more detail on that. Maybe
when Phil called me, he informed me that he had a body that fit everything, including the area where it was dumped.
The caller had painted a perfect picture with words of the crime scene.
Well, you're excited. At first, you think, this is great. All I got to do is find out who these people are. Then's when the difficulty arose.
They were no closer to answering 2 key questions. Who was Naomi's killer, and who was the mysterious Pat? With none of their leads panning out, they brought the case to us, and our viewers joined the hunt.
Can you describe?
While we were airing Naomi's story in 1993, a viewer in Sacramento called our hotline with a statement that blew everyone away.
I knew when I viewed America's Most Wanted that they were looking to talk to me, that I could solve that crime. I knew it for a fact.
Viewer Guy Tankersley told Detective Arnold that the mysterious Pat had tried to ease her conscience by telling his secretary and a friend about the 1981 Oregon murder.
Your secretary knows Pat? Is that how it worked?
Pat opened up and told us to the other two in confidential, you know, thinking that they would never say anything. But something like that, how could you not say something?
Electrified by the break, the detectives raced to Sacramento to interview Guy's secretary. There, with the help of the FBI and local authorities, they began a tireless hunt to track down the elusive Pat.
This is traced to Carson City, Nevada, which is basically, I believe, where she is now.
With their plan in place, the detectives headed off on a caravan through the mountains to Nevada, hoping to catch Pat at her home. At 1:18 a.m., 52 sleepless hours after our broadcast, they confronted her.
She's going to come out, and I can be over there. You're okay. He knows. She's cooperating.
After 2 years of waiting to find Pat, we finally found her at her residence. Jim McNelly extended his hand and said,
Pat, my name's Jim McNelly, and I've been looking for you for 2 years. And she got tears in her eyes, and she said, I was hoping you'd forget who I was. I knew as soon as I heard her talking that it was the same lady that I'd talked to on the phone.
Pat confessed that she had been an eyewitness to the brutal slaying of Naomi McMahill. But most importantly, she named the killer, her ex-husband, David Connell Cox. She said he still lived back in Sacramento. She gave Arnold and McNelly his address. The detectives staked out his house. When Cox appeared, they sprang into action. Cox just played dumb.
Homicide of a 14-year-old girl. 1981, Pendleton, Oregon. We have a warrant for your arrest from the state of Oregon. Huh. Any questions?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand.
The cops finally had their man. Or did they? Cox claimed that he had severe disabilities, hearing loss, and back injuries. And because of them, he was incapable of committing the McMahill murder. After 12 years of putting their case together, was it about to fall apart? Well, now the detectives were faced with having to prove a physically disabled man was capable of carrying out this brutal murder. They needed more proof. They needed a miracle. And when we come back, we'll show you how that miracle practically dropped in their laps. And we'll have a special message from the President of the United States.
Cops in Houston, Texas are still looking for Vicki Nash, on the run since 1979. After a relationship with her boyfriend Gary Cooper soured, police say Nash shot and killed him and his new lover. Here is Nash in the 1970s. She's a huge partier with a passion for drugs and alcohol. She also has an inch-long scar across her forehead, and her nose is crooked from being broken in a fight. These age-enhanced photos show what Nash may look like today at age 46. Call if you can help. Fernando Reynoso is wanted for the brutal murder of Maria Borges in May of 1994. Police say Reynoso doused Maria with gasoline and lit her on fire. Your tips helped police track Reynoso to his home country of the Dominican Republic, but cops think he may be back in the U.S. Reynoso wears non-prescription glasses and slouches when he walks. He speaks broken English and may be back in his old neighborhood of East New York in Brooklyn. Call if you can help.
Welcome back. When we left the Naomi McMahill murder case, investigators had just arrested their main suspect, David Cox. But Cox appeared to be physically disabled with back injuries and hearing loss. The cops had a feeling Cox was faking it, but they needed proof. And thanks to a watchful neighbor, proof is exactly what they got. See this videotape? Just a few days before Cox's arrest, handicapped neighbor, believing that Cox was faking his disabilities, secretly videotaped Cox washing his van. His wheelchair and his crutches were nowhere in sight. It was the proof cops needed. Cox was nailed. Armed with this videotape, they were ready to confront Cox, and confront him good. During the interrogation, Cox continued to play dumb.
Tell me what he said, please.
He said, I'm going to advise you of your rights.
Okay.
But Detective Arnold wasn't buying any of it.
You killed her, and you're sitting here playing these damn games with us. So don't play games with us, mister. You play games with everybody else out there, not with us. We know you did it.
I may have been somewhere in New York, from Alabama, or Florida. I don't know.
Okay.
But one thing I do know, I have not murdered anyone.
Charged with rape and aggravated murder and desperate to avoid prosecution, David Cox continued to fake his handicaps during his trial.
Can you hear?
I have to read your lips.
Okay.
Well, the jury wasn't taken in. In less than 1 hour, they returned their verdict. On the charge of rape, guilty. On the charge of aggravated murder, guilty.
I think if there's any justice in this case, it's a justice for maybe the parents in this country who have children that could breathe just a little bit easier that Mr. Cox isn't out there and that their children don't have to fear Mr. Cox.
Cox got just what he deserved. And those two cops are two of the most dedicated we've ever seen. We're very glad to have been a part of that case. Now, a special anniversary message from a fan who lives right here in Washington, D.C., our president, Bill Clinton.
I'm glad to have this opportunity to personally congratulate John Walsh for making America's fight against crime his life's work. As many of you who watch this show know, John has been unrelenting and remarkably successful in his efforts to help bring criminals to justice. On behalf of all Americans, I also want to thank John for all the work he's done to strengthen our laws and to prevent crime from happening in the first place. When my administration pushed a smart, tough crime bill through Congress, John was there. When we asked Congress to give additional rights to crime victims, when we required the pictures of missing children to be posted in federal buildings, and when we compelled states to register sex offenders, John was there. In short, when it comes to finding crime-fighting solutions that work, John Walsh has always been there. In recent years, our nation has made great strides in crime prevention. Because we're putting 100,000 more police on the streets and taking more criminals, guns, and drugs out of our neighborhoods, crime has dropped for 5 years in a row. We've come a long way, but this is not the time for complacency. I will keep working, and I know John will keep working, to make our community safer so that crime is the exception, not the rule. John, Hillary and I are so grateful to you for all you have done for our country. Congratulations on your show's 10th anniversary and many more successes in the years ahead.
Thanks for the kind words, Mr. President. It's a pleasure working with you. Now, please pay close attention to this missing child alert. Agents in Canton, Ohio say these three children, 14-year-old Tyler Brown, 11-year-old Amanda Lee Brown Palmer, and 10-year-old Wayne Palmer, have been missing since Monday night. Agents believe they may be with this man, Brian Scott Mayhorn. Mayhorn is an accused child molester and may be driving a 1991 blue Chevy Cavalier with Ohio plates AWP 5818. Please call if you can help.
Toronto detectives are searching for Dudley Vincent Forbes. Forbes is wanted for stabbing his girlfriend 13 times in 1993. Detectives say also in 1994, Forbes walked into a Toronto nightclub looking for his ex-girlfriend and opened fire, killing 2 and wounding 4 others. Forbes is a smooth-talking ladies' man who loves playing soccer and dominoes. If you've seen Dudley Forbes, call 1-800-CRIME-TV.